We're back with another entry in the Mega Man timeline series, the Mega Man story. Last time I covered the creation of the sequel that established Mega Man as a successful series, Mega Man 2 on NES, and the side game that spread it to the Game Boy, Dr. Wily's Revenge. After Dr. Wily's first failed attempt to conquer the world, he built his own deadly robot masters to defeat Mega Man. After he failed, Dr. Wily launched a series of missiles from his space station while Mega Man faced off against Enker, the first Mega Man killer-type robot. In the end, crisis was averted and Mega Man took Wily into custody. In Chapter 3, the story will be focusing mainly on the next NES game, Mega Man 3, and pieces of two more side entries, Mega Man 2 for the Game Boy, a completely different game from Mega Man 2 on the NES, and the Sega Genesis Mega Man The Wily Wars. Working together, these games are going to answer many questions, like how is Proto Man still functional, who's this mysterious green stranger that looks somewhat familiar, and how can the side games even fit into the overall narrative. It'll require some editing magic and a little bit of imagination, but before we get started, here's a quick shout out to all of my Patreon members for your continued support. You guys help make this channel possible and contribute to keeping these videos flowing. If you'd like to have your name up here too, get exclusive benefits like sneak peeks, progress updates, behind the scenes, access to the Discord channel, and early access to my timeline videos, go to patreon.com/GamerThumbTV or click the link in the description to get started. And now the Mega Man story, Chapter 3, Proto Man returns. The release of Mega Man 2 on the NES was a massive success. Capcom's second attempt to establish the Blue Bomber as a video game household name worked, which inevitably meant the series would continue with even more entries. And not only would it get another mainline entry, but continue with a whole series of side games. After Mega Man 2, Capcom wanted a Mega Man 3, but development of the game over a year later was anything but simple. The lead supervisor of the first two games, Akira Kitamura, left the company. Masahiko Kurokawa was placed as the lead planner of the game, and Keiji Inafune returned to design it. The Mega Man formula had proven to be successful, and Capcom set out to create a game that felt familiar, keeping much of the same gameplay elements but adding to them. Mega Man was given enhanced movements by adding the ability to slide, a common aspect to Mega Man fans today, but back then that was a brand new mechanic. Mega Man 3 also implemented brand new characters that would come to be series regulars, mainly due to a conversation between Akira Kitamura and Masahiko Kurokawa. After Kitamura left Capcom, Kurokawa reached out to him for ideas to implement in the game, and Kitamura shared some of the ideas he had before he left the company. He planned to name the items individually that Mega Man used to maneuver around the environment in Mega Man 2, instead of just Item 1, 2, 3, and he suggested they all be combined into a robot dog. This resulted in the creation of Rush, Mega Man's canine companion that replaced the navigation items from before. He could transform his entire body into 3 different items: Rush Coil, which can help Mega Man bounce up to higher ground to collect items; Rush Jet, where Rush would transform into a hoverboard, allowing Mega Man to cross dangerous gaps safely; and Rush Marine, an aquatic vehicle that could transport him underwater. Kitamura also suggested that a prototype Mega Man robot be created as a new character, which resulted in the creation of Blues, the older brother of Mega Man.
Alright, we're here. What do you want?
I just wanted some time with my brother. You little dope.
You big goof.
His design was heavily influenced by the anime genre, joining the ranks of other mysterious character archetypes, equipped with flowing garments that blow in the wind in order to signify their coolness. His helmet visor covers his eyes to keep his identity as secret as possible, and he carries a shield. Blues was designed as an enemy that appears and disappears after combat to keep players on their toes and keep them from really knowing if he was friend or foe. Proto Man and Rush were successfully implemented as iconic characters in the Mega Man universe, but at the time, the struggles Keiji Inafune had during development of Mega Man 3 were beginning. He's been outspoken that it was one of his least favorite Mega Man games to be involved with, due to the working environment surrounding it. He felt the new gameplay elements to Mega Man 3 took away from the simplicity of the first two games, and he felt that his new superior, Masahiko Kurokawa, didn't really understand Mega Man the way his previous superior did. a point that seemed to be proven true when Kurokawa reached out to Kitamura for suggestions. Inafune's frustrations continued to grow when Capcom USA decided to change Blue's name. He was firmly against it. Inafune wanted to keep the same musical themes behind Rock's name with Blue's name, but Capcom USA thought the name Blues made no sense. Since he was a prototype robot, he became Proto Man to be consistent with Mega Man. Just like in Mega Man 2's creation of the Robot Masters, Capcom did hold another contest for fans to submit their own boss ideas, and they responded in droves. Capcom received 50,000 entries, with the winners having their ideas chosen as the basis for the new Robot Masters. And some runner-up entries received a pencil case and an ID card as secondary prizes. Capcom designed the levels for Mega Man 3 before all the fan submissions came in, and used placeholders for bosses. Then the final designs were selected. The Mega Man 3 Robot Masters chosen were Needle Man, Magnet Man, Gemini Man, the hilariously named Hard Man,
Okay, whoever is in the duck suit, show your ugly puss.
I'm Hard Man, and you're gonna have a hard time beating me.
Top Man, Snake Man, Spark Man, and Shadow Man. As the deadline for Mega Man 3's release was approaching, difficulties that Keiji Inafune would have to resolve appeared. Kurosawa left Capcom during development of Mega Man 3, leaving the production of the game without a lead planner. Inafune had no choice but to rise up and take over the job to ensure that the game would be complete in time. Without him, the end result of Mega Man 3 could have been disastrous. The development team under Inafune had 2 months to finish the second half of the game. Cuts had to be made. When Rush was designed, he was also meant to have a drill mode that would allow Mega Man to go underground. That was never implemented into the game. An opening sequence was also going to explain the story for Mega Man 3, but there was no time to finish it, so the story was relegated to the instruction manual. Aside from cutting several aspects originally intended for the game, Inafune also had to split up tasks among the development team in order to ensure the release date deadline would be met. Against all odds, under Inafune, Mega Man 3 was completed successfully, although in a compromised state. The development team felt the game wasn't ready to ship just yet. In a 2007 Nintendo Power interview, Keiji Inafune described the entire Mega Man 3 experience. His words read, "I knew that if we had more time to polish it, we could do a lot of things better. Make it a better game. But the company said that we needed to release it. The whole environment behind what went into the production of the game is what I least favored." But how would the gaming public respond to this unfinished, unpolished Mega Man 3? In September 1990, Rockman 3 released in Japan, Mega Man 3 in the USA in November 1990.
今度は宇宙で決戦だ。ロックマン。ロボット犬ラッシュを従え、さらにパワーアップ。ファミコンソフトロックマン3ドクター・ワイリーの最後、近日発売予定。カプコン。
Fans loved it. Even the box art was better than what the public was used to. In Japan, it represented the game accurately as usual, while the PAL version looked similar, yet adding a creepy, realistic-looking Wily in the background. And the USA version actually has Mega Man looking like himself, not bad box art Mega Man, not Mega Man holding a handgun, although Spark Man and Top Man are completely miscolored, but we'll forgive that. Among the reviews, Mega Man 3 was praised for its graphics and music, better storytelling, the gameplay felt familiar, and some even claimed it was a major improvement over the previous 2 games. Mega Man 3 was a bigger game all around, including boss fights with the Robot Masters for Mega Man 2, on top of the 8 new ones. Some of the criticisms mainly revolved around the game's much higher difficulty. Since its release, Mega Man 3 has sold over 1 million copies worldwide, making it a Capcom success. I even remember it fondly myself, since it was the first Mega Man game I ever owned, alongside Mega Man 4. I got both of them for one of my birthdays. And Mega Man 3 went beyond the NES as a very stripped down Tiger Electronics LCD game, as everything did back then.
Unplug the arcades and put the Tiger Challenge in the palm of your hand. Turn it on! Mega Man 3! In Mega Man 3, you can now choose the right weapons to defeat Dr. Wily and his robot army in 7 stages of Mega Fury.
And the first and only mainline Mega Man game to make it to arcades with Nintendo's Play Choice 10 library of games. In the next 2 games, the other main players of this video, Mega Man 2 on Game Boy and Mega Man The Wily Wars. There's not a whole lot to say about those titles. They were odd little experiments that weren't even developed by Capcom in-house. Mega Man 2 for Game Boy is considered by Keiji Inafune to be his least favorite out of the Game Boy series. Capcom hired an outside developer called Japan System House to create the game. They were founded in 1987, changed their name later to Biox, and lasted until the early 2000s before shutting down. Mega Man 2 Game Boy was poorly received, and Capcom never hired them again to work on a Mega Man game. Inafune claimed the developer had very little knowledge of the Mega Man series as a whole, and it shows in the gameplay. It's really a random assortment of Mega Man 2 and 3 enemies and stages, including the bosses. It's both games put together and remixed, with an original section at the end, and the introduction of a new threat called Quint, who may have a secret connection to Mega Man. The game released December 1991 in Japan, and February 1992 in the USA to mostly average reviews, identifying the game as a lesser remix of 2 and 3. And Mega Man The Wily Wars, the only Mega Man game on the Sega Genesis. Another one not developed internally by Capcom. This time it was outsourced to Minakuchi Engineering, the same developer behind Dr. Wily's Revenge and the preferred Game Boy Mega Man developer. Why did Sega Genesis get a Mega Man release when Nintendo was the home of Mega Man? Well, it was because of Street Fighter II Champion Edition. It found success on the Sega Genesis console. Although I always found the Genesis controller uncomfortable for fighting games, especially if you had that 3-button one. Keiji Inafune assisted in limited capacity as an artist on the Wily Wars, by creating the artwork for Mega Man and Rush on the front cover, and the design of the 3 new Robot Masters, different from the ones we'd seen before in the classic Mega Man series. Instead of taking a gimmick and slapping the word man at the end, he based the 3 new Robot Masters, part of the Genesis unit, after the Chinese legend of the Monkey King, the story known as Journey to the West. Buster Rod G, based on Sun Wukong, Megawater S, based on the river sprite Shi Wujing, and Hyperstorm H, based on Zhu Baji, all elements of the Monkey King story, mixed with Japanese folklore. The game itself was comprised of 4 major sections, acting as a Sega Genesis remake of 1, 2, and 3, and explained by time travel. And a new section opens up with a completed save file called Wily Tower, where the new content was found. Inafune described the experience assisting with debugging the game as an absolute nightmare, and development is slow going. Sega of America showed the game to the public at the Sega Summit sales meeting after rumors began swirling around the project, and it released in Japan on October 21st, 1994. In the US, the game would mostly be a mystery among many players. While Japanese kids were at home enjoying their Wily Wars Sega cartridge, the American physical release was placed on hold indefinitely until it was cancelled for undisclosed reasons. Although in February of 1995, it did receive a digital release. Yes, 1995 did have digital console gaming via the Sega Channel, downloadable content before it was mainstream. In modern times, the Wily Wars is rather easily accessible aside from standard emulation. It was included officially in the Sega Genesis Mini Library in 2019, and it received a 2021 physical version by Retrobit. In 2022, it was even added to Nintendo Switch Online. The game's out there now and playable, and critically, it's been a well-received, odd little game. It's Mega Man, it plays like Mega Man, it revisits 3 of the previous games while adding new content, all mixed with that Sega feel. And that's the creation of Mega Man 3 and the 2 side games we'll be covering. But how are they all going to come together in one video? For this one, I took much inspiration from the Archie comics as before, since as it stands, Mega Man 3 has a basic story about the ultimate peacekeeping weapon that Dr. Light made. Mega Man 2 Game Boy has virtually no story in-game, and neither does Wily Wars. But both of those games have something in common: time travel, which explains both the new character Quint in Mega Man 2 and the remakes of 1, 2, and 3 in Wily Wars. So here's how we're going to place it all together. I find that the side games work best as the tail end of the main games. Usually some kind of ultimate plot by Dr. Wily that always blows up in his face. A final attempt to defeat Mega Man. We're going to combine the new, original portions of both Mega Man 2 Game Boy and Wily Wars, since they both involve time travel, while mostly ignoring all the repeated stuff, like revisiting Mega Man 1, 2, and 3 again. We don't need to do that. It'll all make sense by the end of this video. Even the Archie comics subtly implied a relation between those 2 specific games. So let's go ahead and start cooking this Mega Man 3, Mega Man 2, and Wily Wars soup. Dr. Wily's plan to destroy Mega Man with his first Mega Man killer robot Anchor and the destruction of Earth with his missiles was put to an end. Before Wily Station's destruction, Mega Man activated an escape shuttle and took the captured Dr. Wily with him. Once they arrived back on Earth, Wily was taken into custody as news cameras captured his arrest live worldwide. He could spend the rest of his days locked away from society, but at the same time he craved the attention that he was receiving. Like any other citizen of the Mega City federal court system, Dr. Wily was entitled to a fair trial, and he hired a successful up-and-coming attorney named Phoenix Wright in his early days of practicing law. Phoenix Wright was known for successfully defending the most difficult of clients, and although he wasn't thrilled to be defending Dr. Wily, he had a viable strategy for his defense. Dr. Wily argued that the alien supercomputer he discovered was influencing him against his will since the very beginning, and was controlling much of his decision-making. He never wanted to take over the world, the computer made him do it. Since Mega Man destroyed it, there was no evidence that could really be studied to make a conclusion. Dr. Light even testified that the theory was plausible. There was no way to disprove what effect a supercomputer from another world could have on a human being, and Dr. Wily's guilt couldn't be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. As unlikely as it seemed, Wily's defense strategy worked, and he was able to avoid prison time. He was found not guilty of orchestrating the several Robot Master attacks, but the judge did find him guilty of violating his ban from working on robotics, and another minor charge of breaking UN quarantine for building his Wily castles on protected property. He was sentenced to 5 years house arrest, under the supervision of Dr. Light, and he was liable to pay for the damages from the Robot Master attacks. Dr. Wily was concerned the general public wouldn't accept his version of events, and Dr. Light had the idea to keep Wily out of the public eye for the time being. Instead, he would assist him in Light Labs as a consultant, circumventing the ban that was placed on him until they could come up with a positive project together. The naive and hopeful Dr. Light completely believed that Dr. Wily was a changed man, while Mega Man went along with the strange circumstances. But Roll was fuming. She didn't trust Dr. Wily for a second and would keep an ever-watchful eye on him. And she was right to do so. Dr. Wily was never under any sort of alien mind control, and he was devising more plans to overcome Mega Man and Dr. Light. For now, he was assisting Dr. Light on a test Robot Master body, with no personality or intelligence, simply a shell to test upcoming Robot Master abilities one chip at a time. Secretly, he was also coordinating for his future escape with a copy Robot Master of Flashman. The Flashman copy would stop time, infiltrate the lab, and discuss Wily's plans. More Wily castles were being built, as well as robots to fight in his army, all automated, without Dr. Wily having to be present. One day, while working in the lab, Dr. Light decided to share one of his most secret projects with Wily, the Gamma Project. Wily was astonished to see the enormous robot that Dr. Light had kept several floors below the lab. Gamma was designed to be the ultimate peacekeeper, a weapon of mass destruction that was never meant to be used. A robot big enough to handle any global crisis. Although it held destructive power, the idea was that it would be used as a deterrent, never to raise its weapons against humanity. Dr. Light sought to bring Wily in on the project in order to continue rebuilding their trust and friendship. The problem with a large creation such as Gamma was finding the means to power it efficiently, and Dr. Light shared the possible solution with Wily. Just recently, a team of space exploration robots discovered a nearby asteroid that originated outside the solar system. It was deemed Asteroid Alpha, and the space robots landed on its surface to investigate it. What they found was astonishing, ancient ruins from beyond that were long abandoned, clearly from an intelligent civilization well beyond humanity's current understanding. Perhaps the same ones that built the supercomputer Wily discovered. Inside the asteroid, they discovered an altar with a single brilliant crystal, packed with raw, compressed energy. Dr. Light believed that the crystals were common within the asteroid, and that the energy could not only provide power to Gamma, but someday provide unlimited clean energy to the entire Earth. He just needed the means to collect samples and refine them into usable power conduits. With authorization from the government, Dr. Light helped prepare the asteroid for study, and his robots broke it apart into multiple regions to prepare it for mining and different research projects. Together with Dr. Wily, he also designed 7 new Robot Masters, and were able to reprogram the unknown Robot Master that Wily found near the alien supercomputer, making it a total of 8. 8 Robot Masters that would oversee and assist with the mining operations. Soon after the mining operations began, enough crystals were collected to power Gamma, and Dr. Light refined them into 8 energy element discs that attached to Gamma's power source. Soon after, the day came to present Gamma to the public at Titanium Park, where Wily first betrayed Dr. Light. This time, Dr. Wily would be part of the presentation. From an outside perspective, it really did seem like Dr. Wily was genuine. As the presentation started, Light explained how far robotics had come and what the future held in store. His hopes and dreams of a future where robots can help with various environmental problems across the planet. And Gamma was revealed. Suddenly, the group was attacked, and Dr. Wily pushed Dr. Light out of the way. It was the Robot Masters they designed together. The humans in the park evacuated the area, while 2 of the Robot Masters went straight to Gamma's power source and ripped the 8 energy elements out of it. Mega Man jumped into action to stop them, and Dr. Wily, putting on a show as always, burst into tears, pretending not to understand what was happening, his one chance at redemption stolen from him. Mega Man fought valiantly to stop the new Robot Masters, but they had cover fire to assist in their escape. The stranger glared down angrily at Mega Man. Mega Man believed he was some kind of special Red Sniper Joe and offered to talk the situation out. Dr. Light, even without seeing his face, immediately recognized him as Blues. He assumed by this point in time that Blues' power core would have given out on him, but here he was standing above. Blues responded to Mega Man with a blast from his own Proto Buster, lashing out at his clueless replacement. Unknown to Dr. Light, Blues' power core did give out. As expected, its energy levels were critically low, so much that Blues collapsed in the jungle, alone without help. That is until Dr. Wily began exploring for areas to build his Wily castles. In a stroke of luck, he came across the disabled Blues, and Dr. Wily was the first person he saw when he reopened his eyes. Strangely enough, Blues felt better than ever, even after having a catastrophic power failure. Dr. Wily had accomplished what Dr. Light never had the chance to do. He fixed and improved Blues. The young, thankful robot now had improved weapon systems, stronger armor, and his core was replaced with a nuclear-powered one of Wily's own design. Blues, for the first time, was functioning with no defective parts. He couldn't thank the doctor enough and offered his services for whatever he needed in the future. Wily asked further details as to why he left Dr. Light, but Blues refused to talk about his past. In fact, he wanted to separate himself completely from it. While Wily crafted a new helmet for him and a shield capable of deflecting energy blasts, they attempted to think of a new name for him together. Wily suggested Proto Man since he was a prototype of Mega Man, but Blues thought that the name still connected him to his past, and the name came to them. Blues needed a break from his past, and he would break Wily's enemies for him. His new name? Breakman. Wily would also slowly brainwash Breakman by showing him news footage of the city celebrating Mega Man's many victories, renaming the city after him, thanking him for his services patrolling the city. The rage inside Breakman was building. His younger brother's life that should have been his. Instead, he was left to rot away, cast aside for a replacement housekeeping robot. During interviews, Dr. Light also mentioned how he loved all of his creations and why Mega Man was so special. Breakman remained silent. He had no words in his databanks to describe what he was feeling. He could only clench his fist in anger, and Wily looked on pleased, knowing he successfully flipped Dr. Light's first robotic son. And now Breakman was covering the Robot Master's escape. Rush was no simple pet for Mega Man. Dr. Light also fitted him with various transformations that Mega Man could use to travel around quickly. Breakman blocked Mega Man's blast and returned fire. They traded blows with an almost equal skill, though Breakman had the advantage of having a shield. On the rooftop, the 2 robot brothers had a standoff, examining each other's skills. Mega Man had never faced a Sniper Joe as seemingly deadly as this one, able to avoid his attacks and respond with ease. While he was wasting time with them, the Robot Masters were getting away with the Gamma elements. During the standoff, Breakman thrust himself towards Mega Man, blocked his attack, and fired directly at his head. But Mega Man moved out of the way, and an innocent bystander paid the price. It was their younger sister, Roll. The blast hit her in the middle of the chest, sending her crashing to the ground. The 2 brothers looked at Roll in horror. Breakman had no intention to harm her or any innocent bystander. He only wanted to prove that he was better than Mega Man. In a panic, he turned around and ran. The Robot Master had escaped, and the fight was over. But Breakman had caused too much damage. Mega Man wasn't going to let him escape without finding out who or what was under that helmet. It was clear this Robot Master was beyond the Sniper Joe's abilities. The 2 of them tussled on the ground until Breakman was able to get loose and escaped. Roll was quickly taken to Light Labs and placed in a diagnostic capsule that would reveal how extensive the damage was to her systems. Luckily, she would survive, and Dr. Light could repair her. In the meantime, Wily and Light worked together to prepare Mega Man for his mission. He had to find the Robot Masters, defeat them, and the mysterious robot leading them, and retrieve the Gamma elements. On the surface, it was unclear who was responsible for the attack, but Dr. Light assumed that Blues somehow turned the Robot Masters against them, and Mega Man began investigating the attacker's origin. In Dr. Light's computer, he discovered the name Blues, and remembered Dr. Light saying the name during the battle. Although it was an uncomfortable memory for him, he explained the truth to Mega Man. He had a brother that likely had a vendetta against him. Dr. Light finished repairing Roll, and the two doctors tracked some of the Robot Masters into deep space. They'd retreated to where the energy elements were originally mined, the areas they were intended to manage mining operations for. In order to stop Breakman and defeat the Robot Masters, Mega Man would have to travel into space. And Rush was fitted with a spaceship transformation that helped Mega Man travel to his destination. The Alpha asteroid was now separate into multiple research stations, and the first Robot Master awaited Mega Man's arrival. Model number DWN-021, Top Man. He was a robot master designed by Dr. Light and Dr. Wily to oversee mining operations on the asteroid's hydroponics plant. The entire facility was designed to study the effects of growing plants in deep space. And Top Man assisted in the mining of energy crystals by using his auto balancer to spin at high speeds without getting dizzy. He developed a personality that allowed him to excel at planning ahead, and he grew to love ice skating, while also having no patience for robots that couldn't dance. As Mega Man approached, Top Man spun through the facility, making sure that all his defenses were in place. Every minion placement and trap was meticulously planned by Top Man to provide maximum protection, but Mega Man wasn't a factor that he could predict and counter so easily. He blasted through the enemies in his way, including hopping robots designed for pest control called Mechacaros that were being tested on the plants in the facility. Even standard manufacturing and construction tools were reprogrammed to attack Mega Man. Robotic nuts and bolts called Boltons and Nuttons, modified Picklemans riding a bulldozer, the Pickleman Bulls attempted to block Mega Man's path, as well as modified versions of Dr. Wily's Matasaburos. These Komasaburos, armed with deadly spinning tops that could shoot out at high speeds. One of the final barricades in his way was the Tama, a giant cat robot created by Dr. Light that was meant for a large cat exhibit programmed to play with yarn balls. Top Man watched his progress from a security monitor with great frustration, while Mega Man was assisted by his pet dog Rush, even going as far as using Rush's jet function to bypass his top platform traps. Due to his meticulous planning, Top Man was furious that it was all for nothing. He placed his traps carefully, only for Mega Man to fly right by. Then Mega Man arrived in Top Man's sanctum. Top Man taunted him, proclaiming not to understand how he took down Dr. Wily's previous robot masters, and he unleashed a torrent of tops at the Blue Bomber. They exploded as they hit Mega Man, and if he wasn't careful, they could do some serious damage to his systems. But like the pacifist Mega Man attempts to be, he tried giving Top Man a chance to surrender, something which Top Man had no plans to do. Top Man's spinning movements made him difficult to hit until Rush valiantly bit his legs and held on tightly, giving Mega Man the opportunity to blast him directly in the face. Top Man immediately went down and recognized Mega Man's skills, both regretting his own sense of superiority and appreciating this legendary battle. As Top Man deactivated, Mega Man used his copy chip to absorb Top Man's top spin and reported back to Dr. Light and Dr. Wily. Together, they built a teleport system to return the stolen Gamma element discs. Mega Man sent the doctors the disc and prepared for his next mission. 7 more remained before they could get Gamma back online. And Roll continued keeping a close eye on Dr. Wily, much to his annoyance. She understood that Mega Man and Dr. Light seemed to trust him fully now. She knew better and warned Otto to keep a close eye on him. She'd noticed some odd signals coming from the lab that appeared suspicious. The next Robot Master, DWN-022, Snake Man. was given the responsibility of surveying the asteroid pieces, and he was designed with the mindset of being able to survey any uninhabited planet discovered in the future. Snake Man's ability to slither across any surface made him an excellent exploration tool, and his search snake, equipped with cameras and microphones, could reach any surface that was too tight for him. He was intelligent and he was shrewd, and enjoyed hunting and cornering prey. He also developed an irrational hatred of slugs. Once he was reprogrammed, he gave up his previous functions and decided to turn his region into his own personal robot snake kingdom. In preparation for Mega Man's arrival, Mega Man made his way through the dangers Snake Man placed in his way. Pole vaulting robots called Bubukons that were originally created by Dr. Light to participate in the newly established Robot Olympics. Pottons were flying surveillance robots that could separate their explosive bodies to pepper Mega Man with damage. Armored Sniper Joes equipped with a swinging ball and chain. The Hammer Joes could only take damage from their vulnerable middle eye. Even with all these threats, Mega Man persevered, but panic started to set in when he was forced to confront the petite and big Snakies, Snake Man's own personal guardians. Unknown to Mega Man, Snake Man was following him the whole time and watching him closely, crawling quietly across the ceiling. Snake Man took pleasure in the fact that he was undiscovered, and he used his search snakes to speak to Mega Man and taunt him while he fought. It sounded like Snake Man was all around him. When the opportunity presented itself, Snake Man struck quickly and whipped Mega Man with his head tail, and his search snakes covered Mega Man, compromising his movements. If too many covered his body, he'd surely be crushed when they tightened their coils. Thanks to his new topspin ability, Mega Man was able to shake them off and confront Snake Man in proper battle. Mega Man activated his topspin and used its high rotational speed to slam Snake Man against the wall, and Rush jumped into action to hold him in place by latching onto his head tail. Before being blasted, Snake Man realized that he was indeed the hunted and not the hunter. After using his copy chip to absorb Snake Man's ability, Mega Man received his own search snakes and teleported the second Gamma element back to the lab. Dr. Light's teleporters were already in the process of reinstalling them into Gamma's power core. Only 6 more to go. Mega Man tracked the next element to a facility that was cracking open the asteroid and studying the mysterious red liquid that was found inside. DWN-024, Shadow Man, a robot master that neither Dr. Wily or Dr. Light built. Yet Dr. Wily took credit for reprogramming him fully. Originally, he discovered Shadow Man near the alien supercomputer he claimed mind-controlled him. His true origins were unknown to both doctors, but they were correct in believing that Shadow Man indeed had an alien origin. Thousands of years ago, Shadow Man began his functions as a servant of the Star Droids, and belonged to a lower class of Star Droid called Quipper Droids. They were all alien robots created by the supercomputer, whereas its original creators were lost to time. The Star Droids were at war with a galactic space police patrol known as the Star Marshals, machines designed to protect the galaxy from evil threats. The Star Marshals were closing in, seeking to destroy the supercomputer, and the Quipper Droids were responsible for escorting it across space. But the Star Marshals arrived, and one in particular attacked with a vicious ferocity. Shadow Man found himself confronted by a Star Marshal, and he was damaged in the battle. He drifted disabled through space and eventually crash-landed on Earth, where Dr. Wily found him. Then reworked him into a ninja-themed robot master. None of Shadow Man's previous memories existed. Now he was reprogrammed to take a break from his mining duties and wait for Mega Man to arrive. Dr. Wily equipped him with a shuriken crafted from his own alien metal and imbued with a machine-corroding liquid. Shadow Man was cunning and could display cruelty, yet he enjoyed surprising people and had a hatred of boring, unimpressive tricks. Before Mega Man faced the Robot Master, he came face to face with his brother. Before Mega Man could even get a word in, Breakman fired at him and retreated. He only wanted to test Mega Man's abilities and let him know that he was on the right track, the path planned for him. The sewer system built into the asteroid managed the red fluid inside, not magma, yet just as deadly, able to corrode Mega Man's armor immediately. Studies show it had some mutagenic properties, and the area was patrolled by new Shotmans, an improved version of the original Shotman, remodeled to shoot out projectiles. Hologram machines that controlled the lighting in the facility were reprogrammed to turn off the lights and create illusions showing the outside space. And walking bombs, weapons of war that could walk on their own, took advantage of the situation to attack Mega Man. And Paraceu's, testing parachutes in different levels of gravity, drifted down in an attempt to knock him into the liquid. From his chambers, Shadow Man could hear Mega Man coming while he was meditating and prepared himself for combat. Shadow Man charged at Mega Man with an incredible quickness and lunged his weapon into Mega Man's back. The damage wasn't enough to be fatal, a simple test to examine Mega Man's durability, and he responded by blasting a barrage of search snakes to compromise Shadow Man's movements. Shadow Man had a sense of honor and admonished Mega Man for using stolen abilities instead of fending for himself. Mega Man overcame Shadow Man's attacks and the alien robot was exhausted. He knew the battle was over, so he stood down. His pride had gotten the better of him, and Shadow Man accepted that the stories behind Mega Man Legends were true. Mega Man had no desire to continue the fight, and Shadow Man collapsed from exhaustion. He survived the encounter, and Mega Man was able to absorb a Shadow Blade, his first weapon generated from alien metals. DWN-019, Gemini Man. He was designed by Dr. Light and Dr. Wily to break down hard materials once the asteroid was discovered to have a deep crystal line. And to speed up the process, he was also given the ability to duplicate himself up to a maximum of 4 copies. Gemini Man was elegant and conceited, sometimes copying himself just to admire them and give himself compliments. He also likes mirrors and shiny objects, but he hates snakes. Before entering the deeper parts of the crystal caves, Breakman reappeared and opened the way for Mega Man. Inside, he found the experiments being performed involving algae growing within the mines, and small robots that burst from artificial eggs. These tadpole-like robots were poles created for energy resource research, simulating animals growing within the algae. In fact, the entire area, aside from mining energy crystals, was being studied as a simulated ecosystem with robotic wildlife. The penguin-like pen-pens collected meteorological data from the frigid environment, and the pen-pen maker continued manufacturing more of them. The dragonfly-like Yambo was being used to protect future crops, and the fish-like Georibo was reprogrammed to be a small and mobile battleship. Security robots also patrolled the area and protected the experiments inside, and the large hopping Bicky would press the ground into a flat surface for walking. Meanwhile, Gemini Man started panicking watching Mega Man's progress. He already lost contact with 3 other of his fellow robot masters and began doubting his ability to win. He created a couple of copies of himself and began consulting with them in a conversation that spanned from encouraging him to complimenting himself with his self-proclaimed genius-level planning. And while self-congratulating, Mega Man appeared right next to him. Immediately, the copies and Gemini Man jumped into action, firing their Gemini lasers at him. Mega Man was already running out of steam from his previous encounters and struggled to dodge the blast. But Mega Man was able to take advantage of Gemini Man's fear of snakes, enough of a distraction to take him down. With only one Gemini Man copy left, Mega Man was able to guess which one was the correct one, and blasted him with a direct impact. Gemini Man's remaining copy vanished, and the real one collapsed. He was wounded, but had to continue collecting the Gamma elements. After absorbing Gemini Man's abilities, Mega Man received his Gemini laser and traveled to his next destination. DWN-018, Magnet Man, was communicating with his master, who Dr. Light believed would be Breakman. His forces were preparing inside an enormous magnetic generator facility back on Earth, where the remaining 4 Gamma elements were trapped. Mega Man's space adventure was coming to an end, and he had to head back home. While waiting for Mega Man to arrive, Magnet Man pondered Dr. Wily's previous attempts. Wily's strategy was always to wear him down and crush him with a powerful robot. It had never worked before, and he wondered why the same strategy would ever work. but Magnet Man had a role to play. In order to delay Mega Man, Breakman arrived to hold him off. After the battle with Breakman was over, Mega Man entered the facility that Magnet Man had prepared for him. The Robot Master was an analytical thinker, but had a poor sense of direction, often enjoying naps where he hung magnetically from the ceiling. He had clear leadership abilities, but his programming to destroy Mega Man overrode any intelligent decision-making he was capable of. And it also caused him to develop a personality that enjoyed massages and shiatsu therapy. Magnet Man hated physical disc-based media, since any optical disc would be damaged due to his strong magnetic fields. Magnet Man's strategy was to send overwhelming forces at Mega Man by supplying a large number of his magflies, originally flying magnets made to transport iron and other metals, now specifically targeting the Blue Bomber. They could magnetically attach to him and send him plummeting into the deepest depths below. And the original Springer robots were upgraded into giant Springers. They lacked the speed of the originals, but they packed homing missiles from the top of their heads. None of Magnet Man's plans worked. Now there was only one play left. He would blast Mega Man the second he walked through the door. Except Mega Man came in from the door behind Magnet Man and caught him by surprise. He fired a magnet at high speed and it followed Mega Man. They were weak and easy to destroy, but given enough of them at a time, surely the Blue Bomber would be overcome. Mega Man unleashed the power of the Shadow Blade, its alien metal completely immune to Magnet Man's magnetism. When he was struck by its sharp edges, one of Magnet Man's arms was sliced through, and the other blade pinned him to the wall. In a desperate final attempt, he decided to overcharge himself into a magnetized powerhouse. But Magnet Man had no power left. Before deactivating, he asked Mega Man to tell the other Robot Masters that he went down fighting, and told him where the next one waited. His defeat bestowed the magnet missiles upon Mega Man. Only 3 Gamma elements remained. DWN-017, Needleman. Mega Man arrived and thought that Magnet Man might have lied to him. He arrived at a construction site overlooking the city in broad daylight. Why would Needleman be in the open like that? But in fact, he was there, watching Mega Man from afar. Needleman was swinging from above him, watching his every move. And he knew that he didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. He was only meant to be a distraction for a far greater plan. If he was going to go out at the hands of Mega Man, he'd go out on his own terms and wait for his battle patiently. Needleman's body was inspired by the construction of Airman, and he was armed with needle-like projectiles that could penetrate through concrete. The perfect mining robot that could even use his head to crush stronger rocks. Needleman also packed a foul mouth. He loved sewing projects and hated the idea of injections. While Mega Man made his way through the construction site, Needleman sat down and began working on a new sweater. Many of the same reprogrammed threats Mega Man already faced attacked them as well as never before seen robots. The porcupine-like Hair Harries were designed to guard energy resources inside of mines. And Needleman also outfitted cannons with a metallic hatch that covered the firing barrel. Mega Man was ready for a fight when he arrived at Needleman's chambers. Instead, he found the Robot Master knitting his new Dr. Wily themed sweater. When Mega Man asked if he was crocheting, Needleman exploded with rage. He was using 2 needles, not 1. Clearly he was knitting. And he opened fire, sending a barrage of needles at the Blue Bomber. Only Mega Man's top spin could protect him from the onslaught. When Needleman cooled down, Mega Man attempted to reach him with an offer of peace like he had tried with so many Robot Masters before. But Needleman's programming prevented him from being able to make the choice. All he could do was fight Mega Man and destroy Mega Man. Even the sharp points of Needleman's weapons couldn't stop the Blue Bomber. The Gemini laser tore through Needleman's body and disabled the Robot Master. Mega Man didn't want to hurt him, and Needleman expressed that what they wanted didn't matter. They were simply tools for the humans to use and abuse. And with that, he allowed Mega Man to finish him off with one final shot. After Needleman's defeat, Mega Man attained the Needle Cannon, and he broke down in sadness. Needleman's final words affected him greatly. He was ready to fight and sacrifice to save the world, but he hated harming other machines. and lately it felt like that was the only purpose that he served. Dr. Light reassured him that it was almost over. Only 2 more energy elements remained. DWN-020, Hardman, the 3-ton Titan. The Hardman Robot Master made his domain inside a thick, rocky plateau with a construction site built around it, protected by Wanan floor traps designed to catch intruders sneaking into the property. The robotic bees, the Havsu bees, dropped armies of chibis on top of Mega Man, and Dr. Wily's Monking from Mega Man's previous encounters returned as upgraded and much faster returning Monkings. While Mega Man fought through the plateau, Hardman waited patiently, deep in the underground mine. He was originally designed to prepare soil for agricultural projects, and he was equipped with small rockets that allowed him to leap in the air. He was crafted from hardened ceramic titanium that made him heavier than most Robot Masters, so the rocket propulsion system inside of him made him a bit more mobile, and his fists could fire outwards like missiles to crush rocks. Before Mega Man could face him, Breakman appeared to stand in his way again. Mega Man was starting to feel the exhaustion from fighting so many Robot Masters back to back, flying to space, and repeatedly fending off his brother, a fact that Hardman recognized. Much to Mega Man's surprise, Hardman was a Robot Master that believed in a fair fight. If he was to battle the legendary Blue Bomber, he wanted him at full strength. He handed Mega Man an E-Tank that would refill his energy reserves. At first, Mega Man thought it could be a bomb of some sort, but Hardman assured him that he simply believed in a fair fight. As soon as Mega Man was re-energized, Hardman activated his rocket thruster and charged at him. His honor would not be mistaken for kindness. Hardman punched him with an incredible force that caught Mega Man off guard. He'd never felt an impact like that since he was activated, and he returned the attack with a punch of his own, which Hardman didn't even feel. His thick ceramic titanium armor wasn't easily penetrated, and Hardman's fist acted as projectile weapons that could impact Mega Man even harder than he'd been hit already. During the battle, none of Mega Man's attacks were causing Hardman damage, simply bouncing off his armored plating, armor that happened to be vulnerable to concentrated explosives. The magnet missile was the perfect weapon against Hardman. The magnets were attracted to his armor and stuck to him. When they went off, Hardman found himself impressed with Mega Man's combat skills and collapsed. Defeating him granted Mega Man his hard knuckle, and the final Robot Master waited. DWN-023, Sparkman. He was inspired by the design of Elecman, but was drastically improved from a power level perspective. He could generate twice the amount of electricity, but his programming also contained a glitch that caused absent-mindedness. Sparkman typically had a friendly personality and kept other Robot Masters' energy levels charged, but his forgetful nature made him the target of jokes. He enjoyed watching catfish eels and hated being alone. While Mega Man made his way through the giant power plant that Sparkman made his home, Sparkman was attempting to contact his Robot Master brothers and only heard silence. He was the only one remaining. Then he exploded into a panic attack. Mega Man defeated everyone that was thrown in his path. It was crazy to think this latest attempt to destroy him would be any different, but Sparkman's programming demanded that he destroy Mega Man. He would be the one to avenge his fallen brothers. While Mega Man fought his way through the plant, confronting the flying portable batteries, Elekins, and avoiding the electric gabiole barricade systems, Sparkman waited by the door to surprise Mega Man. Sparkman didn't want to hear any pleas for peace. No bargains would be made. He would simply attack him without hesitation. The attack was fierce, with Sparkman generating huge balls of electricity and hurled them with amazing speed. Ultimately, Sparkman's rage made him careless. Mega Man took advantage with the speed of his Shadow Blade. They cleanly sliced through Sparkman's arms and 2 more through his core, leaving him powerless to defend himself. Mega Man demanded to know why they forced him to attack. Why cause so much violence for nothing? And Sparkman responded that he told them to. Words that struck a nerve with Mega Man. Sparkman's defeat granted Mega Man with the Spark Shock, and he reflected on Sparkman's final words. Mega Man knew they were after Breakman, but could he be a reference to Dr. Wily? Was his friendship and newfound goodness all a lie? Although he began having his doubts, he teleported the final Gamma elements and prepared to head home. And Dr. Wily began enacting his true plans. Roll had been right to be suspicious all along. Dr. Wily had to hurry. While Roll and Dr. Light were distracted, Wily disassembled Otto to keep the robot from reporting on his actions. Roll discovered Otto and ran to go tell Dr. Light. Something was happening. Wily had secretly been working on the tester robot master body that he designed with Dr. Light, the diverse operating circuit robot known as Doc. And Breakman had been teleporting in and out to bring him supplies. Strange signals that Roll had picked up on. Now that his Doc robot was complete according to his specification, it was time to reveal his betrayal. Breakman and the Doc robot held Dr. Light and Roll hostage while Wily taunted them. Dr. Light's heart was shattered. He genuinely believed his old friend had returned. But instead he orchestrated the entire plot to steal the Gamma elements and keep them all distracted with their recovery. And he stole Blues, turning them against his own family. Dr. Light grabbed Wily in a fit of rage, but he couldn't do anything to stop him now. Mega Man hadn't yet arrived, and the Doc robot would surely protect its master. The teleporters they'd built weren't just transporting or reinstalling the Gamma elements back inside Gamma. The teleport array was powerful enough to transport the entire peacekeeping machine. And Dr. Wily used it to transport Gamma with all 8 energy elements installed to one of his new Wily castles. Everything was going according to plan, and soon the world would bow down to his genius. Dr. Light's most powerful piece of machinery was now in the hands of a madman that fooled the world. He collapsed with distraught, furious that he can fall for such deceit. When Mega Man arrived home, he was immediately ready to jump into action. If Dr. Wily had the chance to charge and activate Gamma, nothing would be able to stop the destruction he would unleash upon the world. And while Mega Man was recharging in Dr. Light's lab, he shared Gamma schematics with Mega Man in order to study any potential weakness. And Dr. Wily prepared his defenses. Although he did mask his teleportation signal, and his location was kept secret, there was always the possibility he'd be discovered. Roll made sure Otto was reassembled and that Rush's functions were operating normally, and Breakman watched from inside Dr. Wily's castle as multiple copy robots were being activated. He began having second thoughts about his alliance with Wily. Roll had already been hurt once, and now the entire world was at stake. He simply wanted to be accepted and show he was every bit as capable as Mega Man. It was time to act and bring Mega Man to him in a final battle. Breakman knew where Dr. Wily's secret castle was and allowed Mega Man to follow him there. Mega Man was confused why he allowed him to follow. He knew that Breakman wasn't fighting at his full capacity and was holding back. Breakman's motivations eluded him, and like the dysfunctional brothers that they were, an argument ensued. How could Dr. Light's first robot son work with Dr. Wily? And Breakman didn't understand why Mega Man would constantly fight Dr. Light's battles. He was only a tool being used, but Mega Man never saw Dr. Light as his commander, his order giver. Light was his father, and Mega Man chose to fight for him and all of humanity. With a final shot, Mega Man won the battle. Breakman was bested. But Mega Man had no intentions of destroying his brother. Instead, he extended his hand to help him up. They weren't tools of humanity. They were brothers. They were family. Breakman extended his hand and slapped his younger brothers away. He didn't need his help getting up. For now, Breakman would go off in search of his own destiny. But Dr. Wily did have to be stopped. Breakman blasted a hole in the floor and told Mega Man to go through the sewer. It would take him inside Dr. Wily's castle and past his strongest defenses. Mega Man asked if Breakman was finally coming home and offered that Dr. Light could fix him. Breakman responded he didn't need to be fixed, and congratulated Mega Man on his last shot, then teleported away. Mega Man was finally getting through to Breakman, but that would be a reunion for another time. For now, he'd go through the sewers and enter the castle. Dr. Wily was furious that Mega Man was already there. Gamma was still charging and couldn't be activated yet. He never envisioned that Breakman would turn against him and lead Mega Man there. Wily prepared the Doc robot to defend him as his final line of defense, while Wily's other security forces activated. Mega Man faced the Giant Metal, a giant floating Met that also acted as an automated factory for more Mets, and the Kamigoro Maker, a robot meant for checking water quality in deep ocean. The machine itself was indestructible and moved on rails, but it released robot marine exploration turtles that could be destroyed by causing a chain reaction in the main unit. Once the Kamigoro Maker was destroyed, Mega Man heard a familiar sound behind him. During his first battle against Dr. Wily, he faced one of Wily's most dangerous creations, the Yellow Devil. The MK2 Yellow Devil was upgraded and stronger than ever. Thanks to Breakman's actions, Dr. Wily was unprepared for Mega Man's assault and sent everything he had remaining at him, including more copy robots of himself. This time, one could create holograms of itself, but this wasn't the first time Mega Man faced a cheap copy, so he attempted to bargain with him. Since it was a replica, it also couldn't exist just to fight. Mega Man had a conversation with his doppelganger and convinced him to stand down. They didn't have to try and destroy each other, but suddenly a familiar weapon attached to his back and exploded. Crash Man's bombs. And the horror behind the Doc robot's creation was revealed. Multiple voices were coming from within its body. Dr. Wily's original robot masters. It was never meant to be activated as a working machine. It was only meant to test different abilities, but Dr. Wily took the personality chips from his destroyed robot masters. He disassembled the surviving Heat Man and took his also, then fused them all inside a single robot body. All 8 robot masters Mega Man had previously defeated were inside, simultaneously struggling for control and identity, ghosts trapped in the machine. The Doc robot was armed with all of their combat abilities, and Mega Man was shocked that it was still functioning. It was only a matter of time before the body failed. He couldn't imagine the suffering the robot masters were going through. After being attacked, Mega Man's theory was proven right. The Doc robot suffered a catastrophic failure. The robot masters all began speaking to Mega Man. Some pleaded for mercy, others yelled angrily at him. Some begged to be rebuilt, but there was only one way to undo what Wily had done. Mega Man blasted the main head unit off and disabled the entire body, giving the robot masters peace. Now Wily's original robot masters were truly defeated. Wily was nervously waiting while Gamma finished charging, and his copy robot masters, as he'd done in the past, served as a quick distraction for Mega Man while the finishing touches of Wily's plans were put in place. When they were all defeated, Wily appeared with his Wily Machine Model 3. It fired lasers from its artificial eyes, but didn't have enough power for multiple shots. It was an unfinished machine. Wily could only hope that he could crush Mega Man under its sharp legs or blast him with its underside turret. Mega Man destroyed the ship with his spark shot relentlessly, and the cockpit became vulnerable. With a final shot from his hard knuckle, Dr. Wily was exposed. Something was strange. Dr. Wily spoke, but he had no human expression. Mega Man pulled him out of the cockpit and realized he'd been duped. This wasn't Dr. Wily at all, but merely a puppet. A decoy meant to give the real Dr. Wily more time. Gamma had enough time to activate, and Dr. Wily had built a control unit on top of its head. He was in full control over the super weapon now. If Mega Man didn't stop it here, the world would have no future. Mega Man attacked Gamma's body with all of his might, and all of his attacks were useless. His only strategy left was to attack Dr. Wily's control unit on the head. Dr. Wily built it to fully control Gamma's actions. He combined the attacks with the Search Snakes and found a vulnerability in Gamma. The Search Snakes traveled into the tight spaces of Gamma's mouth and removed the elements powering it. With little energy left, Dr. Wily's capsule was vulnerable. Wily's betrayal had cost him everything. He was defeated, and no court on Earth would ever believe his legal defenses again. The Gamma robot collapsed and crashed into Dr. Wily's castle. All Wily could do was look directly at Mega Man and say, "I hate you." Every plot he attempted was foiled, but Mega Man still had compassion. As the castle began collapsing, Mega Man reached out to Wily, but it was too late. The rubble had buried him, and Mega Man was also trapped underneath destruction. Suddenly, Breakman appeared to survey the damage and saw his younger brother in need of help. Much to Dr. Light's surprise, Breakman teleported Mega Man home to safety, and he vanished. Dr. Light was happy to see Mega Man alive and well. Mega Man apologized for failing to bring Breakman home. But for Light, it was enough to know that Breakman was out there safe, and perhaps one day ready to return home to his family as Blues. Dr. Light brought Mega Man inside to repair any damage caused by the debris that fell on him, and Mega Man also apologized for not bringing the energy elements back. He knew that Gamma was Dr. Light's passion project, and the energy sources were destroyed alongside Gamma. And although more could be mined over time, Dr. Light made the difficult decision to abandon the Gamma project completely. He saw the danger that his own creation posed to the world in the wrong hands, and the world may be better off without it. After Wily's defeat, Mega Man often traveled outside and wondered where his brother was. Breakman was traveling the world and left his identity behind. He decided to adopt the name Proto Man, the name he previously resisted, but the world was safe in part due to his actions, and it was a fact that he was Light's prototype. And Shadow Man was the only surviving robot master. He still didn't have memories of his previous life as a servant of the Star Droids, but Wily had no control over him. Now he had the freedom, much like Proto Man, to travel the world and find his place in it. There was a small moment of peace, and the world presumed that Dr. Wily was dead, but no body was ever found, since Wily had in fact been recovered by his own robot servants and taken to another one of his bases to recover. He was in bad shape, but he was already working on his next plot. Wily had been keeping track of experiments performed inside the Kronos Institute, a research lab working on the study of time. After Time Man was reprogrammed by Dr. Light, he was sent there to assist in time travel experiments. Wily began devising the idea that if he couldn't defeat Mega Man in the present, he could go back in time and prevent his creation. After much study, the Kronos Institute devised a time device called the Time Skimmer, and Wily sent his robot minions to steal it. Overnight, when nobody was present, they struck. Dr. Light and Mega Man were called in to investigate, and the trap was sprung. They were attacked by Crash Man, more copy robots of Wily's previous robot masters. But if Dr. Wily was dead, how can they exist? The only explanation that made sense? Dr. Wily was still alive and well. When Mega Man turned around, there were more waiting for him. All at once they attacked him, but Mega Man had enough experience with cheap copies to stand a chance. Dr. Wily had already recovered from his injuries and prepared the stolen Time Skimmer in order to go back in time. But the way it was built would throw a wrench into his plans. It turns out the machine couldn't travel to the past beyond the point of its own creation. Traveling to the past under these circumstances would solve nothing. Instead, Wily devised a new plan. He would explore the world of the future. Perhaps he would find a solution to his Mega Man problem then. Dr. Wily installed the time skimmer in a vehicle, and the time travel process began. At first, he traveled into a future where the world was at peace. Mega Man was no longer a fighting robot. He didn't need to be. He was just a boy robot enjoying his days with his dog Rush and the rest of his family. And Dr. Wily discovered that even he had retired. But Wily knew the possibility of victory would always stir his evil ways. He would never retire willingly. Dr. Wily tracked down his future self and explained the time skimmer device. If both Wilys worked together, perhaps Mega Man could finally be destroyed. The power of two Wilys was now at play. Dr. Wily of the present tracked down the now retired Mega Man and captured him. Together, the Wilys analyzed his components and wiped out his personality and his memories, reprogramming him into a new Mega Man killer robot they called Quint. Wily traveled back into the past with Quint and prepared to unleash him on his greatest enemy from an underground Wily castle. Using the time skimmer again resulted in an energy wave that was easy for Mega Man to track. Once he arrived in Wily's underground castle, Mega Man found it empty. No large robots waiting to destroy him, no defenses. Just Dr. Wily by himself. Mega Man wasn't shocked to see the Mad Doctor was still alive and stepped forward to bring him into custody, but Wily activated his trap. Mega Man fell through the floor and plummeted into a room with Hard Man, Magnet Man, Top Man, and Needle Man. More copies designed to tire Mega Man out. Once they were destroyed, Wily stood before Mega Man and revealed the true threat. He unleashed Quint with a new weapon he developed, the Sakugan, a jackhammer powerful enough to penetrate Mega Man's armor. Mega Man couldn't quite pinpoint who this new robot was, but he seemed familiar, not knowing that it was himself from the future. The Sakugan pounded on Mega Man's armor, and Dr. Wily looked on with glee as his enemy attempted to destroy himself. Mega Man was able to best himself in combat, and Quint retreated before he could be destroyed, now stuck in a time that wasn't his own. Dr. Wily retreated, and Dr. Light detected that he continued experimenting with the time skimmer and retrofitted his castle in a pocket outside of time. His plan to defeat Mega Man with Quint had failed, but it was all a ruse to bring Mega Man inside and simply send him away. Suddenly, Mega Man was hit with a bolt of energy and sent into the world of the future, the world where Quint was originally from. A world where Mega Man was now Future Wily's problem. In this world, future Dr. Wily took over the Kronos Institute with his robot minions and turned it into a new Wily Tower. While present-day Wily was setting up his plans with Quint, future Wily was focused on designing robot masters inspired by a future beyond both of theirs. When the Wilys were traveling through time, they quietly studied a future where robots were well beyond the capabilities of the robot masters. They didn't fully understand these new models, and one in particular that seemed to be a leader of some sort scared the Wilys enough to abandon that time period. Future Wily did retain some ideas from their armor, however, realizing that many of them were animal-themed and built from stronger parts. In his own time, Future Wily built 3 new robot masters he called the Genesis Unit. Like the ones he saw in the future, some were based off animals, and he was inspired by a particular story he always found entertaining: the Chinese story Journey to the West. The Genesis unit consisted of the monkey-like Buster Rod G, model WWN-001. Future Wily built him with ancient Chinese warfare in mind, and placed him in charge of the Genesis unit to coordinate their attacks. His monkey-like traits also resulted in a rowdy personality that loved bananas and hated dog robots like Rush. WWN-002, Megawater S, was amphibious and intelligent, his design inspired by a kappa, the Japanese folklore water sprite. He hated spoiled kids and the idea of consuming raw fish. And WWN-003, Hyperstorm H, the pig-like robot master that acted as the muscle of the Genesis unit. Although he was big, he had a laid-back attitude, and one of the few things that made him angry is when he was referred to as a pig. Mega Man traveled the world of the future, fighting through the area surrounding the old Kronos Institute. Before entering Wily Tower, the Genesis unit stood guard, protecting future Wily, and launched their assault. Future fighting robots versus the hero of the past. Mega Man defeated the Genesis unit and headed into Wily Tower to confront his old nemesis. This Wily hated Mega Man even more than his past self. He'd suffered far more defeats at Mega Man's hands and was glad that his world had rid itself of its blue bomber with Clint. But now this pest from the past was inside his tower ruining his plans. Future Wily used the ideas he gained from the future robots he'd seen to create his ultimate Wily machine, a mechanical weapon fused to his Wily UFO. Even with the power of the future and time travel in his hands, future Wily failed again, and Wily Tower, the old Kronos Institute, collapsed. With Wily Machine's destruction, future Wily vanished, and his world also presumed his death. Back in the present day, Wily had already retreated to one of his Wily stations floating in space, where he was enjoying a drink and celebrating his victory over Mega Man. He might have betrayed his future self by sending Mega Man there, but it was no longer his problem. Unknown to Wily, the time connection between his present day and future base was severed with Wily Tower's destruction. He never imagined that Mega Man would win and be thrust back into his original time. There was an explosion of energy and Mega Man reappeared. Dr. Wily was shocked to see that Mega Man survived and had no choice but to launch his latest Wily machine, Model 2. Mega Man was victorious again, and Wily's time travel plot was annihilated along with the time skimmer. With a final attack, Mega Man shot down Wily's escape craft and it plummeted down to the earth. In both the world of the future and the present, Wily was again presumed dead. But Mega Man couldn't shake the feeling that the mad scientist's plot was nowhere near finished, and Quint was still out there, an evil reflection of Mega Man out of his time. Once Dr. Light learned the scale of what Dr. Wily accomplished with future Mega Man's reprogramming, he became deeply disturbed and concerned about the danger Mega Man posed. He loved his robot son but recognized that he had the capability of being captured and reprogrammed against his will. He dreaded the thought of Mega Man being turned into a Wily weapon, and began developing real ideas for what he considered the next stage of robot evolution. Dr. Light's first projects were considered his alpha stage of development, in which he improved the world by creating basic robots to assist with human tasks. The beta stage resulted in the creation of Blues, Mega Man, and all the Robot Masters, robots programmed with personalities and basic functions. And although technology was far from catching up to his plans for the future, Dr. Light began thinking of ideas and blueprints for the X stage, the creation of a robot that couldn't be reprogrammed, a robot almost indistinguishable from a human being that could think and act for itself. Join me next time for the Mega Man story, Chapter 4, The Cossack Conspiracy. The world moves on from Dr. Wily, but another scientist appears to have taken his place, creating robot masters of his own and sending them on a rampage. And a young girl is kidnapped in a twisted plot to destroy Mega Man. And could Dr. Wily in fact be alive? Strange disturbances are reported across the globe, and a new robot master claiming to be a new and improved Mega Man killer model appears.